documentation of this. By next year, I got a 2 year goals over here. Let me also say this, I'm talking about experience. At the short time, what we want to do is make a video. But at the long run, it's good that every man I call belongs to you. Let me tell you why. If we get trying to go big of potato, or if for you, oh, if we get a go, I could say, but plantain plantation. Remember, what you have to go back to the only thing that you don't want to know. When you're not analyze, does not do plantation. What you do is what we call annual crops. Every year, because of the just in the actual release here, you will not pay me. They're not paying the plantation, and then they give you each of these things. Plantation they need, cashew plantation they need, palm plantation they need.
Struggling to trade? We trade for.
Even a problem, you can use it.
You and get you a proper firm payout under 30 days.
Use plantain to fence farm lands. So that that I will accomplish before. Once the surveyor comes and so that you don't want to know what for you, you will keep it in the plantation.
So it's been clever by half, right? It's now we have been making the argument real quick that the letter of the law was really the problem with the Electoral Act of 2022. So what we were hoping for is clarity, remove the ambiguity and give us clarity, specificity. In fact, I woke up this morning, I saw a video with our chairman of our party, David Mark, at an event, a book launch with the Akwa Ibom State Governor in front, Senate President Akpabio in front, and he was, of course, jokingly, he was telling Akpabio that just focus on the business of lawmaking. Don't preempt. I mean, not in those exact words, but this is what he said. Don't preempt INEC. Don't choose for INEC. You focus on what you are supposed to be doing, which is lawmaking. And which is the argument we have been making, that the Senate was, for any reasons best known to them, they were unwilling to lay down the law. Lay down the law, as in give us the letter of the law, specific, and then let INEC go and figure out the details. If INEC comes back and says, for operational reasons, logistics, time, we will not be able to do this, and then we can go back and forth. But you have already laid down the law, because that is what you do. It's about lawmaking. By the way, it's not lost on me that INEC has a ₦1 trillion war chest, right? ₦1 trillion, largesse from the president. What are we talking about? 15,000, a billion, and they got a bump from the last time to ₦1 trillion. So excuse me if I'm not buying this whole thing about maybe from a cost, logistics, or even timing issue. So, but why did I highlight those quotes primarily? I did to show the hubris with which our lawmakers treat us as citizens. Here is the Senate president, who is the employee of the people. He was hired by the people. Forget about all the trappings of his office. Forget about the stealth security, guards and guns. Forget about all the other things that they enjoy in the office. At the end of the day, he was hired by the people. But see the tone, see the way he talks down to Nigerians, right? That you don't understand it. You guys are ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, if you want to stick your mouth in this business, why don't you go run for office first and then come and then start talking? See how these people think? They don't think that we have any right to even ask questions because that is how they've always done business. So finally, I'm saying that from the people's perspective to your question, the opposition senators, right? They are not doing enough. It is not enough to do your presser, stand behind a podium, and then give us some ambiguous language with regards to what actually went down. We need clarity. We need to know what happened. You said this was not, and I watched that video where Akpabio was he called on that one senator that from the north, who was the one that moved the motion to strike down transmission and adopt transfer, which is the extant law, the letter of the law, that is. And then he goes, do we have any seconder? Do we have any seconder? He looked so choreographed. He looked like they've already planned it. So when we go out there, you are going to be the one to move the motion. And by the time you do, you're going to come in and then second it. The whole thing just looked like they planned it. And this is not how it is supposed to be. So for our opposition senators, please, we need you to do better. It is not enough to that space yesterday with that Barrister Juliet reference. We were there. And believe me, we walked away more confused than we were when we first came in, right? So it doesn't help us, it doesn't help the conversation, and definitely does not help our interest as citizens of Nigeria to be getting all kinds of confusing, obfuscating messages from our public officials. We need clarity, and especially towards 2027, we need definite answers in terms of specific questions that we have with regards to our franchise. Otherwise, the only conclusion I have is that there is a strategic, well-coordinated attempt to disenfranchise Nigerians come 2027.
All right. Thank you very much to the bands for that clarity from the side of the opposition. Now, let's throw this conversation open to listeners who would want to ask questions.
We did not give Akpabio any job. I wanted to correct you though. We did not hire him.
All right.
Nobody elected him.
All right, Chris. Just hang on, please. All right. Okay. Let's get questions in, guys. We're not going to be making submission as we said earlier. We're just going to ask questions around this topic of conversation. NASS rejects mandatory e-transmission of results in the electoral bill 2026 and the risk to credibility in 2027 general elections. All right, so guys, you can bring in your questions for our panelists, and let's start with Egbe Zoma. Egbe Zoma, please bring in your questions. Is Egbe Zoma speaking, please? All right, I don't think so. Egbe Zoma, we can't hear you if you are speaking.
My background is noisy.
All right, let's move to the next speaker then. We're going to move to the next speaker then. All right. Let's take, I think pure or nothing. Please, let's put our hands up so that we know those who are, active at the moment and that will be wanting to ask questions, so that we'll not be calling on just all of us at random. All right.
Okay.
Pure
Okay,
or
do I
nothing.
go?
Please go ahead
Okay.
with your question. Yeah.
Yeah, Barrister, is you that I want to ask this question, because you said that the senators and the House of Rep, the money they are getting doing some things like doing road and all those things, that is not their work. I want to ask you, because I have been watching them some certain time when they talk about even the suspension they give one of them that used to speak out, that have been there for, I'm trying even Brazil to get his name. That's from the north. They give him suspension because he proposed about the money he's getting. So why are they, apart from their salary, there is another money they used to allocate them for their consequences, you understand? So what are they going to use the money for? Is it for their pocket? Because you say that only the job is for them to go there and put the law. So I want you to emphasize in their money they are getting. Like I have seen what Natasha have been doing, doing a lot of job, and the Natasha have explained that is they increase their money from 1 billion to 2 billion, something like that. If you have a post, you will get like 5 billion to 10 billion. Like Akpabio is getting up to more than 10 billion. So is this just for their pocket money, apart from their salary and other things they? Thank you so much. I hope you understand my question.
All right, Barrister Juliet, did you pick the question?
Yes, I did.
Please go ahead.
These things are insider dealings. It's when you get in, you get privy to all these informations. So a lot of them who were not senators before 2023 didn't even know about all these manipulations. These are just deliberate attempts to siphon monies, appear busy, whereas they don't do the most important thing. I don't think you have time to read books, build policies on health, environmental issues, school, education, electricity. There are so many bills, 101 bills, 101 act for review, and you have time to go and be building schools. Those are just their personal monies. Some of them trying to just add to what they get. Some of them is also from what they also get. You can see, as at last year, I kept on reposting a lot of things like renewed hope, agenda for various states. They go liars with the president, all to just appear busy, whereas they're doing nothing. The most important thing is go and do legislative things, dealings. And Nigeria, this is where Nigerians interested in policy making, and also even the Nigerian people, because you can't have just 200 persons who are intelligent enough or intellectuals talking about policies, and you have 260 million people who think that the legislators are to come and pay their school fees, buy them rights, give them clothes. It's going to that, and that is what's happening in Nigeria today. There's a whole lot of misconception, miscommunication, and that is why people cannot shout so hard to stop all this rubbish going on, because this is total rubbish. What they are doing is rubbish. Their main business is go sit down, read, research, review, go to committees, apply your knowledge, and then make sure the laws are working. Stay there, be an eagle eye to the various commissions, summon leaders of various parastatals, ask them how monies are disbursed, how they execute the budget. These are their jobs, and that is what they have to be paid for. Those are what Nigeria should pay them for, because they are exerting a lot of energy, a lot of mental effort, because legislative business is not child's play. Other things are irrelevancies, and for Nigeria, for us to have allowed it to go on for this number of decades already shows how serious we are.
All right. PO or nothing, did that answer you?
Yeah, he answered me that, but I'm always I even asking myself another question. That means when they get the money now, they will not use this for those who work, or are they going to keep the money, Barrister? Because as we are talking now, they are getting money every month. Like we see what Natasha is doing a very great job. So I don't know if you can emphasize on what are they going to be using that money for. If you are proposing for them to just go there and work, why Nigeria paying them salary,
This
paying for
money,
the
how this money
allowances.
even got approved by them. You remember, it's all lobby. They are all lobbying for their pockets, lobbying to get committees so that they can end up. There are so many conversations and evidence that have emerged from how, for example, they say go and monitor a project, for instance, in the refinery, and therefore they lobby them to keep quiet, pay committees, give them hundreds of thousands of dollars so that they can close their mouth. It's all about the lack of transparency, lack of accountability, they go join committees so that they can be they can be enriched. There are so many illegalities going on in the Nigerian legislative houses. So many. And I don't know how we want to start unveiling these issues, but these are just some of them. Like I told you, example, they go, for instance, you're in the committee for what they call this now, issues of mainstream, downstream sector. You are looking at how you're going to be looking at the minister's budget, how you are going to pad it so you take home something. So they know how they get monies, and they already know that the Nigerian people are driven by largesse. It's a classy society. So Nigerians are even the ones encouraging them. So many even elites are even encouraging all these things because through them they get contracts and all. So if we want to revisit this, I think we will now veer off the topic. But all these things are still important in lawmaking, and the lack of transparency in how much they get, what the monies are for, and what is the metrics we use as Nigerians to measure up what they did in this quarter, what they reviewed collectively, not just picking out one senator, because if you are picking out one senator at a time, you end up frustrating it. You're frustrating efforts. You pick out what they've been able to achieve within this quarter. We can be able to set up metrics as a people. If we're looking at educational policies, how have they been able to improve education, health? We saw what they did with the venom and all that. Do we need to allow somebody to die before we get into action to start asking that there should be anti-venom for hospital? So there's so many things. I just think we've not even scratched the surface. What our legislators are doing right now is practically off legislative business. They're just jokers.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you. Yes, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, pure or nothing. Thank you very much for your question. We'll be letting you go down to the listener section so that we can bring up other listeners. Don't forget, let's keep it compact and brief because we are time bound. All right. Let's take. I am seeing Velele, Extraordinary, Homer, and SN Hop. Right now, we will take Extraordinary Homer and a question. Please, Extraordinary Homer.
Thank you, Dragon. Good evening, everyone. So this question is to you, C. Maxwell. If I did hear you correctly, you said they altered the first part of to change transmission to transmit, but if you go down to their guidelines, also you did call the section I've forgotten now, and you said they still make references to transmit, right? You see, are you there?
You see, Maxwell.
I can hear.
Is that the question, Extraordinary Homer?
No, I'm not done, but I need his response.
All right,
I need his response so I know.
Very active with us.
What was your question exactly?
Okay.
I didn't hear.
I said, if I
just
heard you correctly, you said they altered the first part of the guidelines. To change the transfer.
So I had all of what you said.
Mhm.
I had all of what you said, but I didn't know you had asked the question. But to clarify, now in the Electoral Act, Section 60 provides that they are going to the presiding officer. That is the word used. If you look at Section 60, subsection 5. The presiding officer is going to transfer the results as prescribed by the commission. So whatever the presiding officer is to transfer is as prescribed by the commission. But what their bill, the amendment that is being proposed is saying is that same subsection 5 is that the presiding officer will transmit, not transfer, will transmit the results without any,
You see, if you are there, we lost you again. Okay.
Hello.
All right. We just got you back, but we lost you for a few seconds.
Please stop calling me. Stop calling me. I'm busy. I'll call you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, sir. Uh-oh.
Amendment that is being proposed does not provide for transfer. It provides for transmit, and it does not leave it to any manner prescribed by the commission. It only says that he shall transmit. So it is not creating room for additional prescription or additional methods that the commission may subsequently provide. So that is it. I don't know if I've addressed your concern.
Okay, yeah, you have addressed it. I thought you said that the section 60 also was still referring to transmit. So I was getting confused, and I wanted to ask, how would that impact on the transfer? Will it like conflict with each other and all of that? So but you've made it clear now. Thank you.
So, sorry, Jagun, just to also clarify. Now, I also stated that during the last presidential election petition, there was the petitioners, the respondents, they made heavy weather about the definition of the word transfer and transmit. Now, in the regulations and guidelines, transmit is provided. In the main Electoral Act, transfer is provided. Now, what they were telling the court, Tinubu was telling the court, was that transfer means delivering physical copies on one hand. They also told the court that because of that phrase, a manner as prescribed by the commission, that the commission can decide to change, even if the commission has said transmit in its regulation and guidelines, they are at liberty to change the manner subsequently, because the law has said that in a manner prescribed by them, even though that is a very lame reasoning. But the court upheld that. So what this amendment is now saying is that you must, they now use the word transmit to evade that whole problem with English language of transfer, physical transfer, and the rest. What Akpabio now did was that somebody moved the motion to remove this transmit now in the amendment and change it back to the transfer, which has been creating problem, and they passed it on that floor. That is what they actually did.
But sorry, but you see, I still see that as a problem, because if they change it to the transmit, but they still have a provision in their law that says you can transfer, then I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm thinking that, okay, on that day they do something. There is just like what Akpabio said, if the national grid collapses, there won't be network. So maybe boom, on election day they collapse the national grid intentionally, so we do not have network. Then INEC comes up with an excuse to say, because there was national grid collapse, we couldn't transmit. Then we fell back to what our law provides, that we can then transfer. So we now went to the option of transfer again and all that. So you see where my frustration is coming from.
That's where an alternative IREV comes into play, where we transmit alternatively. We don't have to depend on INEC.
Please, let's follow the order at which this conversation is going, please. Thank you very much. All right. Extraordinary Omar, would that be Chief? You wanted to give reaction to
just one more thing. Just one more thing about what Omar said is just a little clarification. Now, the problem that we have is not the issue of INEC changing whether to transmit or to transfer. That is what the amendment is trying to cure by stating expressly that they must transmit. What Akpabio has done with the Senate is they have removed the word transmit and replaced it with transfer. With the wordings that is currently in the bill that I have available to me, INEC is supposed to transmit at the polling unit electronically. And then it says in section 62, that is why I was making reference to section 62, that there is a smart card reader or other technological device that will be used for these procedures. So it means that the electronical transmission is already envisaged. My worry and the worry of everybody is, If you change that word to transfer and then leave INEC to decide how it will transfer, we will go back to 2022. And the court will still tell you transfer means to physically take the copies and not to transmit it electronically to any repository. So that's it. Over to you, Jagun.
Another thing, Jagun, I wanted to say is that the reason and essence.
Go ahead, Barrister.
The reason and essence we keep hammering on this transmit from the very section of section 60 is as it flows downward, because you most times when you refer to a section that follows after another section, it's because there is something at the first part of it that you must apply before other preceding sections. That is something about law. So if they use the word transmit, why Nigerians are insisting that transmission must be done from the polling unit is just to avoid interferences. Interferences can come in various forms, and we saw what happened in 2023 elections. That is what Nigerians are trying to prevent. So we know that these people already have their there are ways around this, and there are evil ways around this whole money. And we already know they have a lot of manipulations. Senator Natasha made some comments yesterday about them even carrying other beavers and even what they call this thing, other voters' card to even start tampering in the bus, where the results are now taken from the polling unit down to the collation. Sometimes this takes miles, sometimes buses may spoil. And that's why you see even in the night, people are still collating results, and or they will tell you they couldn't transmit the results on the IRF immediately after voter registration. And you know that a lot of Nigerians leave the polling unit and go home to take care of things, kids, personal domestic issues, why few go to the collation. So why we are insisting on that section 62 from the polling unit and the word in real time is to prevent all these interferences. There are so many that we cannot be able to encapsulate in this space, but there are so many manipulations. We just want to prevent that while also working to make sure that the Electoral Act is tightened for transparency, accountability, and efficiency of electoral.
All right. We heard, Barrister, so many manipulations simultaneously goes on during the polls, and this precise lettering of the laws are needed to checkmate these numbered manipulations. So yeah. All right. We are still with Active Citizens Media Platform. Welcome to you, everyone who are listening. We have Chief UC Maxwell, Barrister Juliet, and of course, Pseudo Bams on the panel podium, and they are feeding responses to questions as regards the NASS rejects of the mandatory e-transmission of results in the Electoral Bill 2025. And of course, on the flip side, that we will be going into now, and we're going to be taking questions, of course, from that end. We're going to be looking at the risk to the credibility of the general elections in 2027. Should this risk, should this rejection remain? Yeah. So, guys, I'm seeing again, Egbezom, we're going to come back to Egbezom, we're going to come back to you to take your question. But let me announce to speakers here, please let us see that you're active for questioning with your hands up so that we'll be able to establish a roll call. Please, we have speakers who are waiting, in the pipeline to come up to ask questions, and we are pressed for time. Yeah, Egbezoma, please, go ahead with your question. Then we can establish a new roll call. Okay, I think Egbezomo is not available. Let's move to the next speaker. Before I see your hand, but I saw Veleles and I don't know what happened to the hand. Let's confirm if he is there. Then we'll come to you if not. Velele, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Active Citizens, and good everything to everyone wherever you might be spacing from. So again, my question will go towards Chief UC Maxwell, a lawyer, and then Barrister, a lawmaker. And I'm asking these questions because I saw the infographic that
Sorry, let me
Bill-
put this, correct this. I'm not a lawmaker.
yeah, I mean, okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. But I saw in your bio that you
She
ran
is
for
a politician
no,
and
no, I see that.
a
I see that.
legal practitioner.
Yeah, I see that. But I see she ran for the post of a councillor, and that means she prepared herself to be a lawmaker. So go ahead.
So we are fitting it, yes. Thank you.
I didn't actually catch that. But again, I saw that you ran, for the post of a councillor, and I'm thinking you prepared in some capacity to do it. I'm saying this because
yes, I'm responding to you that okay, we are fitting it that it will come to pass. So shall it
Oh,
be.
I see. Amen then. Amen. I'm saying all these things because, I think as an engineer myself, and, when I do designs, I have objectives for designs. So I wanted to ask, again, I have a lot of questions, but I think some of them are a bit rhetorical. What is the objective of making laws, right? What is the objective of reviewing laws? And in the case of the Senate, who does the Senate work for? Is it the majority of the people, as we're in a democracy? And, the purpose of passing laws, is it not to favor the people and to address the concerns of the people? I'm saying all this because, like I said, you look at the highlights of the Electoral Act Amendment that Daily Trust put out, you will see the provisions that they rejected. And these are the very provisions that Nigerians have been crying about. And for me, I made a tweet, I put it in the comment section. It's beginning to look as though the Senate is working to help the incumbency of the executive. That's what it's looking like to me. Well, now I'll show you, right? You reject mandatory real-time transmission of results. Well, you're going to help, the darkness that happens after the polling unit. You lower the penalty on vote buying. You are going to make it happen more. And Nigerians have been complaining. You lower the penalty on, again, multiple penalties for vote buying. You even shorten the calendars, right? Timelines that would affect the opposition and benefit the incumbency. My question is this, for someone who's looking at these things that have been done and is thinking to himself, look, it looks like the Senate is working for the incumbency. Am I mad? Is it a conspiracy theory? Or am I drawing a very valid line from, an action that has been taken to a potential outcome, right? When you look at what was rejected and then what was speedily passed with respect to the issues that Nigerians had, post 2023 going to 2027. I don't know if that was very clear. I tried to speed it up because of time. Thank you.
Yeah, who do you want that question directed?
So, I mean, it could go again, the two lawyers present, right? Either Barrister Juliet or Chief UC Maxwell, but again, any of the directions will be fine.
Okay. Please, if Barrister will go first, then in fact, we can take Tudo's reaction as well on this, since it's not a precisely legal question.
Barrister Juliet, I think. Oh, okay.
Tudo, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, Tudo, you can go ahead, please.
Tudo, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I mean, I'm always ready to defer to our brilliant learned colleagues on these matters. So I think Valele, your question is very the answer itself is fine. So I referenced the speedy process that you talked about. What's his name? The gentleman I was trying to remember his name the other time that moved that motion, Tariu Manguno, who is the chief whip. He was the one that moved the motion to reject real-time transmission and keep transfer as it is the letter of the extant laws at the moment. And then he was seconded by Jibrin Barao, who is the deputy Senate president. And then Akpabio just hit the gago, bagam. That's it, done. So basically, what that does is that it's clause by clause consideration that they did, and as opposed to what their counterpart in the Green Chamber did, which is to basically all of the provisions that you highlighted that Nigerians were looking forward to, and some those guys wasted no time in their own case. But when it comes to the Senate, it's almost as if there is a coordinated, like I said before, attempt to undermine our elections and to serve the interest and the purpose of the presidency or the incumbent in this case. So at the end of the day, you passing this thing, and then you now have your colleagues coming out and saying, no, this was not the wishy-washiness of the whole thing. It's very questionable, and it doesn't augur well for our democracy, for electoral integrity. This is 2026 for.
Sorry about that, Tudo. I don't know what's wrong with X. You keep unmuting me and muting everybody.
Yeah, I just noticed that actually. My goodness, and I've been talking to myself. So, what was the last thing you heard?
No, it was
anyways.
just
it was just momentary. It was Ogorwell. It stopped at Ogorwell for
okay.
that line. Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, look, let me say it and drop it right there. So we are our elected officials have to come of age. Enough already with all of these shenanigans and all of these. This is just ridiculous. It's irresponsible. It is lazy legislating. Okay, it is time you actually demonstrate that you care about the people, which is the question you are asking, right? I mean, come on, we're not naive to think that the act of legislation itself, it's a political environment. Nobody's naive. But come on, ultimately, you are there to serve the people. And when it comes to elections, you have to demonstrate that you want credible elections and you want to maintain the integrity of the entire process. And you are rejecting a very critical component provision in the bill. It just speaks of the fact that you're only there to the interest of the president and not just people. So I mean, it's crazy at this point, but yeah, it is what it is. I am hoping that with the way making the noise and the advocacy and the protest, everything that is ongoing, as they go into that room, the conference committee go into that room to harmonize. I'm hoping that they will have that at the back of their minds and do the right thing and do the honorable thing and come up with a general document that will reflect the will of the people. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pseudo Bounce. That was precise and succinct. All right, Barrister Juliet, you want to add something to that?
I think he has done justice to it.
All right, let's take Chief Yusi's point of view on this. Chief, you want to react to this?
Yes, so just to say a very brief thing, you see, I don't know what the opposition senators intends to achieve, but I need that I hope that they can do better. I hope that they can go back to their drawing board, engage civil society organizations. If they cannot speak enough, they should speak through civil society organizations. It's very important. The reason is that many of the things that other senators may want to say, or these opposition senators may want to say on that floor, may be restricted. But in a very important legislative process, as the Electoral Act, all hands need to be on deck. I don't know the leadership of the ad hoc committee that was set up. I don't know the reports that they are bringing. And like you said at the opening of this particular space, what we are seeing here is just a repeat of the tax law. So we don't know what they are saying on the floor, if it is in tandem with the document available to the public, and they are saying they want to release another document. Now, there's a lot of legislative processes, amendments, and all proposals that go on. But if they must be just to the process, they must be able to include the voices of the opposition, senators, and they must be careful as to what they say in order not to help the people in power to mislead the general public. Very, very important. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I have a question that I would have loved to throw to you guys, but maybe I'll make it an addendum. All right. But so that we can take more questions as much as possible. All right. All right. Let's bring Aiz to the floor now.
Thank you, bro. So just to quickly ask you, Maxwell, are you aware there is a protest at National Assembly tomorrow in Abuja? As yes. So if you're aware, I want to engage your service because I heard you said you do.
Aiz, can we stay on the conversation, please? If you have a question as regards the conversation that we are having right now, can you put it forward, please?
Yeah. Actually, he said, based on what he said on the space, he said he does printing and the design. Well, anyways, I'll just leave that aside. So, going forward with the with what you said on the space. I just wanted to touch on a few points because talking and talking, it's sometimes.
Let me redirect again. I'm sure that was why I kept emphasizing we're going to keep this not submission, questioning to the panelists there.
Okay.
So that
I wanted to. You are actually just cutting my line of thought, but it's okay. I'll just go down.
All right. Thank you. That's why I emphasized earlier it's not a submission. I emphasized the modus operation at the beginning of the space. Apologies to you, but that other days that we're going to be having conversations, just submissions. Of course, why not? But here we're just asking questions from these panelists so that they can react to all of these questions from the legal point of view and from the socio-political standpoint. And that's why we have the mix of two baristas, two legal practitioners rather, and a political economist who analyzes socio-political matters as well in Sudo. Okay, thank you very much, Ace. All right, let's take, let's go with the hands that we have up then. Okay, Kolade, please. I have your hands up. Please, for your information, if I don't have your hand up, it means you are not active to ask questions. So we'll need to drop you for others who are waiting, requesting to speak. All right. Kolade, please, go ahead.
All right, Jagon. Thank you so much. I greet everyone. Barrister UC and Barrister Juliet. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so this is my question. Like this transmit of the thing that we kept talking about. Can someone help me in this bill we're talking about? What exactly are they transmitting? Or is there a restriction to what, or we are still giving INEC the leeway to decide what they want to transmit? Why I'm saying this, result sheet is different from results. Again, I'll repeat, result sheet, which we transmitted at the last election, is completely different from the results. And also is different from, what else again? Yeah, is also different from just like collation, let's even leave collation. So what exactly are they transmitting in this new act?
Who's that question to, Kolade? You see?
Well, the barrister said whoever has read the act or whoever knows, anybody can help out with that.
All right.
Okay, so I'll take a stab at it. So Kolade, we know what is going on. The House of Assembly was very specific on their own resolution, what was passed, which was the letter of the law says transmit, electronic transmission. That's what their own resolution says. On the Senate side, they rejected, right? They rejected, that's the operative word, rejected what was proposed in the bill, which is electronic transmission, which is why I mentioned the names of who moved the bill, the whip, the Senate whip, and the Deputy Senate President, Monguno and Barau. They were both, and then Akpabio just, went on with it. So in terms to the specifics of the question, we are talking about the difference between capturing the results from the polling unit, right, on the BVAS, and immediately transmitting to the IREF portal, which is where we will be seeing it. Now, you can quibble over what qualifies as real time, which is what they try to do to obfuscate the issue, right? Because real time, after all, is not possible. What if there is no connectivity? What if there is no electricity? What if the birds didn't fly? What if the sky wasn't blue? Like all kinds of things that they try to come up with. The bottom line of what we are saying is we vote, you counted, you captured, and you uploaded. That is that. But the Senate is saying no. And to the quote that I read from Akpabio, Akpabio is now creating this window from that quote from him that we are not necessarily removing what I just described. That's what he's saying. That's his comeback. That we're not saying you shouldn't transmit. We are just broadening it just in case something else happens that prevents real-time transmission. So that's what we are saying. Let's stick to transfer. Let's stick to bicycles. Let's use to keke napep. Let's use people carrying by hand, which was what I captured in that his quote. Now, what does that do? It basically sends the operational discretion to INEC and to say pretty much INEC has the carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. They can do, and there lies the corruption. Because now you have opened up a window, because you're not specific on the letter of the law. So you have now opened up a window for INEC to do all kinds of shenanigans, which brings us right back to where we were in 2023. And we don't want that. So to keep it simple, when you say transfer, transmit, whatever, the bottom line is we wanted the letter of the law to be specific on what we're talking about. Transmit the result directly from the polling unit, capture it on the BVAT, and then send it to the IRA portal. But because they don't want that to happen, he is now riding on extant laws to say, I am not opposed to transmitting the result like I just described it, but we are just saying allow other forms of transmitting. There lies the problem. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Colade.
Yes, Sudo. So actually, it stated that the result, right, transmits the result.
Yes.
Do I respond, Mr. Colade?
Okay. You see, you can go.
Oh, no, you can go. I actually wanted to answer his question. I was only waiting for Sudo, but if you want to, you can proceed.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to be very, very specific again. You see, normally when one arrives at the polling unit after accreditation, there is the voting process takes place at the private cubicle where people stand the thumbprint. And after the thumbprint, people are still gathered. Everybody, after the accreditation, people are thumbprinted, they've closed. The presiding officer has raised up his or her hand to say, okay, voting has finally come to a close. Then it's time now to count results. Then they begin to count every result for different and respective political parties. After which the numbers are taken, everybody is aware, those in the polling unit, they are aware. This numbers are taken and written in the form EC8. Now that form EC8 now is being recorded, no alteration, no cancellation, everybody sees it, the process is good and is witnessed by a lot of Nigerians, even the candidates and even their agents on ground. Then they call the agents to come sign the paper, the form EC8 on behalf of their parties. And when they sign it, they snap it and then upload to the IREV. So that IREV now is what takes this result to the viewing portal for people then to see. The beavers are what captures because like I said, there's accreditation process. I don't want to go into accreditation, no, that's why I don't delay. So after this, now that result that have been sent, uploaded to the IREV now is lodged there. The presiding officer, everybody packs their bags, they go to the collation center now to do the collation of the entire election that was conducted in that local government council, because usually some of all these collations are in the head office for the local government election council that oversees all the wards, all the polling units in the wards, all the wards in the local government. So step by step, these are processes, and the results are announced from each local government council. That's how the process takes place. So now, if there is a discrepancy, that's what Section 62 now goes further to say that, okay, if there is a discrepancy between what they have in the collation center, maybe people have altered results in that paper from EC8 have been tampered with, manipulation have gone on to take place. There will now be a comparison with what was transmitted from the polling unit, maybe say at 6 p.m. Now, collation is taking place at 12 a.m. in the middle of the night. They can now be able to refer and say, oh, it was transmitted at this time. This is what we have on the IREV, and they can now be able to put this match together. So now this Section 62 states further that there is already a transmission that went on in section 60 at the polling unit and was uploaded to the IREV. So when you're asking about which result, is that from ECA that was captured and was uploaded immediately in real time, how we want to say, to avoid any interferences, the Nigerian view, and we take it as the first primary evidence before any other thing that happened along the line to relations center. If this is clear, this is just a practical example of what goes on during.
Chief UC Maxwell, quickly give your reaction so that we can bring other speakers up.
Okay, just to state clearly, Mr. Kolade, it says that the presiding officer will transmit the results and also the number of accredited voters. Now, the essence by this was to be able to determine the correctness of the result that has been transmitted and accredited voters. Now, if you now go to section 62 under subsection 1, it went further to say that everything, result sheets, forms, ECAC, and the rest will be taken to collation centers. Now, what this does is it creates a two-factor authentication with what was transmitted online, with what was taken there. Now, this thing that is transmitted online will be used to also confirm in line with the original copies that have been taken. So that is the intention of the law there, and that was what was used in the amendment. So now they've decided to take out this section, this provision, and replace it with the 2022 amendment, meaning that they don't want the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Our request pipe is swelling up. So, Kolade, you have a follow-up question. Let's get your follow-up question quickly so that we can bring others up and make provision for them. Rather.
So this is the follow-up, so if I use it, at the results, I'm only thinking the way our people think. So I'm only thinking the way they think. So because again, I repeat, the results is different from the result sheet. The ad 2023 was to transmit in code the result sheet, which is a copy of the PC8A. It's different from that number, which is the exact result. So I'm asking, is it results or result sheet? If it's stated result, I think I'm cool with that. It is results that the law says is okay. So the form we'll go to court and interpret again. You see, we'll go and interpret in court. So the form.
But the only place to capture the result is in the form ECA. That was why I gave that
exactly. So it serves as evidence, like a physical evidence to what was captured. Exactly. So yeah.
You can't capture results in
let me that.
Yeah. But I see what Kolade is trying
to do. Only the court can interpret that for us. Only the court can give us. I'm sure No. Mr. Kolade, before we get to the issue of the court, I guess where you're driving at. Let me state certain things also. You see, people don't understand why I refer to the regulations and guidelines. Everything we are beating our head about was explicitly stated in the regulations and guidelines. Go to clause 38. Apart from providing the transmission of figures, that is what Kolade is trying to establish when it is resolved. Transmission of figures. APC 39 votes will be transmitted. PDP, these votes will be transmitted. That clause still went further to state that they are going to scan, they will snap the form ECAC and upload the regulations and guidelines 2022 made provision for two things. Number one was the collation system where the figures that are uploaded will go to and also be able to be verified. Number two was the picture format, which will be on IREV for the public to view. And what I've always proposed is don't do any amendments, don't change any English. Simply leave everything contained in clause 38 of the regulations and guidelines, lift it and put it into the Electoral Act. You have solved the problem. What we have in section, what you have in section 60, subsection 4, subsection 5 is saying that the presiding officer will transmit results and accredited voters. Ordinarily, it should be interpreted as that you will take the figures of what is on from ECA snapping. He's taking the figures, uploading it, taking the number of accredited voters, and also uploading it before subsequent snapping of forms ECA. But these guys, because they know that transmit will also be most like, don't be surprised if you still go to court, they'll say that transmit could also be delivering physical copies. And that's why I said at my opening remark that we are deliberately creating a slow-paced electoral innovation in Nigeria. Deliberate, in order to continue to create loopholes. What happens if you state categorically in section 60, subsection 5, that the presiding officer will electronically transmit the results or the figures of the result and accredited voters, and also deliver physical copies, hard copies, at the pollution center? It solves everything that you want to interpret. So that is just to add. Thank you very much.
Did you see that clause 38 of the electoral guideline, where it says electronically transmit or transfer the result of the polling unit direct to the collation system? Direct to the collation system. I even find that a bit ambiguous.
That is what I was telling you. There is a collation system. People never knew this. See, let me tell you. That is why when we were in court in 2023, the argument was that there is a collation system where you electronically transmit, it will automatically compute because what you are transmitting there is figures. And then there is also the IREV for you to snap hard copies. What is going to the IREV is physical copies snapped. That is why you are seeing pictures of people there. That is what was supposed to go to IREV. And also those numbers also that were supposed to go to the collation system were also supposed to appear on the same IREV for the people to see. So there is actually a collation system. And I told you, because clause 38 expressly provided for electronically transmit or transfer, there is no cost that will remove that electronically as it is written there and tell you it's physical delivery. But they deliberately left that thing in the regulations and guidelines and have refused to lift it and put it in the Electoral Act so that they can continue to create loopholes, which they boils back to my first point.
All right. I think this conversation indeed unlocks, I mean, this part of the conversation unlocks us tonight. Yeah. And in fact, it is great to all of the conversations around the electoral document. Because, in fact, let me leave it like that so that I don't preempt people right now. What you see Maxwell and Barrister Juliet, and of course the Colade was exposed here is what is very vital if we're going to have a credible process in 2027, talking about the general elections. All right, let's establish a roll call here. We're going to take Sean. Let's be mindful of time because even if we're going to have extra after the 120 minutes that we have, it won't be more than 10, 20 minutes. So let's be mindful of time. So let's take Sean, Afolabi, and Abiodun in that order. Please go ahead. Sean, please go ahead with your question.
Yes. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Yes, you are audible. Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Please, three things. Okay, I'll be quick with this. First is I really appreciate this Chief UC because I'm really getting real insight into what I had issues with in the last elections. So I was I'm a data analyst, by the way. I analyzed some of the elections privately on my own. So I noticed a lot of issues. First is I would like to ask this question. If is there a particular deadline as to the implementation of this law? Because I feel like they are strategically delaying it. And if it exceeds a particular date, it may be practically impossible for INEC to implement it in the next election, even if they eventually signed it into a law. That's one. Then number two is the issue with digitalizing, that's to enter the figures digitally instead of uploading pictures onto the IRF. By the way, in case you don't know, there were like over 14,000 polling units in the last elections that had flawed IRF result. That is, you could not legibly read anything significant in the IRF result that were uploaded. Over 14,000 polling units, by the way. So not to talk of the number of voters in each of those polling units. So there are evidences. So is there a particular part of the law that actually mandates the digitally, as to enter the figures instead of uploading it in picture form? Then the last one is, I think there are two important things here. First is mandatory electronic transmission, which is understandable. And the other one is real time, okay, because you could actually make mandatory an electronic transmission of result, but the real time means right at the polling unit. So if by any way real time is omitted, could it mean that INEC could eventually even upload these results maybe few hours before they actually announce it, just to make sure that what they have on the IRF is exactly what they want to announce? So that's my first question.
You see, Maxwell, I'm sure you got those questions.
Yes, I got the first and the last. I didn't really get the second, but I do hope that I got it to the best extent. For the first, once the law is passed, except an effective date is provided, the commencement date is provided in the law, it is to take effect immediately. Now, the problem with this is that we've been shouting about this electoral amendments for a long time. They've refused to fast track it. They are doing this deliberately to only make the process, to just muddy up the whole water. Everybody's confused as to what the law really says. They go into the election, they do anything they want, and go away with it. That is why we are here. But as for the timeline of implementation, it takes effect immediately. But the question should be, does INEC have enough timeline to effect these changes? Because if you say we are going to use Starlinks, for instance, is there good time to start seeking for the supply of Starlinks? I'm just giving you an instance. So these are the problems with legislative process and the calumny that these guys, carry. On your last question about mandatory, real time, and all of that, now the express word real time has not been used. Now, if you say it is mandatory for them to upload, you don't really need to bother yourself about real time if they stated that upload should be done at the polling unit, at the announcement of the result at the polling. It means that it has given you a purview or a scope of timeline within which that should be done. There was a witness that was in court during the election petition. I participated every day that matter was in court. I was there. So I witnessed everything at the Court of Appeal and also at the Supreme Court. That witness was called and he was asked. He was a presiding officer. No, yeah, I think a presiding officer. I was asked, when you finish election, did you try to upload? He said yes. Did it work? Did you try to transmit? He said yes. Did it work? He said no. It was giving issues. What did you do? We took the machines to the office. Do you know if they transmitted at the office? He said he can't tell. This is what they now argued in their address. They said that it is possible that at the what's it called now? At the office or at the collation center, it was transmitted or it was uploaded to the IRM. That was the argument because days after the election, some things were coming up on the IRM. So we need express provision in the Electoral Act that clearly says that when you want to upload or transmit, you should do that at the polling unit, and that will solve the problem. I didn't get your second question, so if you want to repeat that.
Yeah, please. The second question was about eligible results. I think you mentioned some part of it, which is to upload a picture instead of digitally to enter the figures just digitally. Because it affected over 14,000 polling units in the last election, over 14,000 polling units. So I'm not talking about the voters, I'm talking about polling units. So you can imagine the number of voters in each of those polling units. I don't think at this stage now we should be sending pictures because Those pictures, some had really funny pictures, some were not legible at all. They were not actually legible. Is there a provision in the law or this new amendment that's going to address that?
For now, there is nothing that has addressed the upload of pictures from what I've read. Upload of pictures of the result sheets was captured in the regulations and guidelines. So even after this, we'll still be waiting.
You see, Maxwell? We lost you. You see again. Uh-oh. Let me quickly say this. Guys in the that are requesting, I see your request. We will try and accommodate all of us within the time allotted. Please indulge the delay. All right. Chief, are you back?
All right, Jack, while UC is sorting out, I don't know if he's back. I wanted to chip in something on the first question. UC,
Go
are you
ahead. He
back?
isn't back yet.
Okay. Yeah, on the timing question that the gentleman was asking. So the National Assembly is basically locked in with INEC is locked in with the National Assembly. And is there a deadline for them to pass the new law? Yes, there is. And that real deadline will be it's basically when INEC issues the notice for our 2027 general election, right? Which is basically in February. Under the extant laws, Section 28 of the Electoral Act basically stipulates that it has to be 360 days before general election. So once INEC comes out with that timetable, then we cannot whatever the National Assembly does is irrelevant from there on. So because you cannot come and change the rules midway. That's what that means. And INEC has already put out a statement to say that the reason they are delaying in putting out that timetable is because they are waiting for the National Assembly to finalize on the new electoral law amendment to the law. I hope that makes sense. So basically, INEC is waiting for the National Assembly. But the National Assembly is a race against time, because if we're still looking at February, extant law says that you have 360 days. And if you don't do that, then we cannot switch to a new law midway once you have put out that timetable. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot. So I'm so sorry. So what this means is that if it exceeds February, possibly, INEC may experience issues with practically implementing this law.
All right, let's take his
My God.
view on this. Let's take his legal view on this. You see, are you back with us?
All right. Yes, I am. Sorry, I still received the call. So I think I've addressed the whole issue about blurriness of result. There's nothing to be done about that. That is the sabotage that goes on with INEC, where INEC gives you unusable result sheets. It's because you have already inaugurated the person whom they are questioning his election. So there's no way that INEC will give you what will help you remove the person from the seat. And these are one of the things that we've been requesting for. And this amendment is supposed to be done in the Constitution, not just in the Electoral Act, to ensure that the person who was voted, all the tribunal court sittings are concluded before the person is sworn into office. Now, about what Sudo said, well, Sudo, to an extent, these are just the view you gave stems from administrative arrangement. Now, where a law is validly passed by the National Assembly, you can override it. If acting upon the old Electoral Act as it will be,
something is going on with UC's. I think his phone is buzzing with calls, and it's affecting his communication source. All right. Unfortunately, I think we'll skip that for now. We may revisit it later because we are pressed against time. All right. Let's take the next question on the roll call. Sheon, I think to an extent you've been satisfied with your questions. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sean. We'll move you to the listener section so that we can accommodate other speakers. Yeah. Okay. Afolabi, please, you have the floor with your questions.
Yeah,
Please,
thank
let's be
I'll be very quick. Thank
conscious of the time.
thank you. I hope you guys can hear me quickly. So
Yes, we can.
so the question I want to ask is this electronic transmission result, is it looking to eliminate the collation at the local government and at the state government at the state level? And is it look so that's one. And the second question is the because somebody mentioned now that there's going to be an electronic collation system. Is that now going to be the single point of for results of elections in Nigeria?
Okay, those are the questions, guys. I'm sure you got those questions, so anyone can just give reaction to the Barrister Juliet. I think let's give Barrister Juliet the floor to give reaction first. Then we'll come to
If I got this question correctly, he's saying that the if the one uploaded is going to be the single evidence of truth. We've said that there's a reason for the collation. The reason for collation is to now mobile up all polling units together and announce the result of that particular local government or that particular electoral district, or depends on the kind of election that is being conducted at that point in time. So that's the collation is to add up what has been taken from the polling unit, and that is why there is need for taking evidence at the first point, the first point of electoral process, voting process, which is entering it into the IREV, then putting all this together for collation to take place wherever the collation has been appointed to take place. I don't know if this is clear. So is it like just like you see, Master said, it's like a two-factor authentication where you're using one to actually strengthen the evidence of another.
So where is the single point of truth then in terms of is it the electronic collation system that's going to be the single point of truth that everybody will know that is the authentic result of the election? Because I don't think
authentic result of it cannot be the authentic result of the general election for that particular constituency. That polling unit, because 1 and 1 equals to 2. So 1 and 1 plus 1 must add to 2. For example, in a particular ward, you may have about 80 polling units. So for you to get the total result of everything that transpired in the 80 polling units, you must collect in point A to point 80. So now the primary evidence is showing what happened in polling unit 1. That is already captured in the IREF. So that is the primary evidence for polling unit 1. So for you to get the total evidence now of what happened in polling unit 1 to polling unit 80 will happen to the collation center, but every reference must be made to the first point of contact where results were uploaded initially. I don't know if this is clear. So it's the process you must follow through, but the evidence already begins first at the polling unit, which is even stronger and more effective.
All right. So for me, let's simplify it, right? Let's go by the resolutions that were adopted by both the Senate and the House, and then compared to extant laws, which is the Electoral Act of 2022. In terms of reporting, transmitting, a lot of these things. So under our current laws, like UC was quoting,